Today we're diving deep into advanced animation techniques and building a 3D rotating cube animation using Flutter. This effect is perfect for futuristic UIs, interactive dashboards, creative loaders, or even game animations. So, if you're ready to push your Flutter animation skills to the next dimension, let's jump straight into the code. First, create a fresh Flutter project. Once the project is created, open it in your favorite code editor, navigate to main.dart, and set up a basic structure of Material app. We'll create a custom widget that represents a cube using 6 faces. Each face will be a container with a matrix 4 transformation applied to position it correctly in 3D space. Let's define our cube face widget first. This is a simple building block. Think of it as one side of the cube. It takes 2 important arguments, color and transform. Color is the color of the face, and transform is a matrix 4. Now, this matrix 4 is the key to creating the 3D effect. It's a way to manipulate the position, rotation, and even perspective of the widget. Inside the cube face widget, we use a transform widget. This transform widget applies the provided matrix 4 to the container, which represents the face itself. The container has a set width and height, a background color, with a little transparency using alpha, 0.8, and some centered text that just says face. So, each cube face is essentially a colored square with the word face on it, positioned and oriented according to its matrix 4. This cube face widget represents a single face of the cube, applying a 3D transformation to position it correctly. Now, let's create a cube rotation screen that uses AnimationController to smoothly animate the cube's rotation. We're using a stateful widget because we need to animate the cube, which means the widget's state will change over time. We use a single ticker provider state mixin to get access to a ticker, which is like a heartbeat for animations. Inside the cube rotation screen state, we have a few key elements. First, controller is an animation controller. Think of this as the engine that drives our animation. It controls the timing and direction of the animation. Then, we have animation, which is an animation of type double. This object holds the values that change over the course of the animation. We initialize an animation controller in the initState method. This controller is responsible for driving the animation. We give it a duration of 3 seconds, meaning one full rotation will take 3 seconds. The vsync set to this part is important. It ties the animation to the screen's refresh rate, making it smooth. We then call controller.repeat so the animation loops continuously. Next, we create an animation of type double called animation. We use a tween to define the range of the animation. A tween is like an interpolator. It takes a beginning and ending value, and the animation controller drives the animation between those values. In our case, the tween goes from 0 to 2 pi, which is 360 degrees in radians, representing a full circle. We animate this tween using the controller. In the dispose method, we make sure to dispose of the controller to prevent memory leaks. Always a good practice. Now, the build method is where things get really interesting. We return a scaffold with a black background, and inside it, we have a center widget to position the cube in the middle of the screen. The core of the animation is the animated builder. This widget rebuilds its child whenever the animation value changes. This is how we get the smooth rotation. The builder function takes the current animation value and uses it to create the rotating cube. Inside the animated builder, we have a transform widget. This transform is what actually rotates the cube. We use matrix4.identity as a starting point. Identity creates a matrix that doesn't do any transformations by itself. Then, we chain some transformations onto it. First, we use setEntry. This is a really important line. It sets the perspective. Without this, the cube would look flat. This line creates the illusion of depth. Experiment with this value to see how it affects the 3D look. Next, we have rotateX. This rotates the cube around the x-axis. We use the current value of the animation to determine the rotation angle. So, as the animation value changes from 0 to 2 pi, the cube rotates a full circle around the x-axis. Then we have rotateY. This rotates the cube around the y-axis. Notice that we're using animation.valueDivide by 2. This means the y-axis rotation is half the speed of the x-axis rotation, creating a nice, complex rotation. Inside this rotating transform, we have a stack. The stack allows us to layer the 6 faces of the cube on top of each other. We create 6 cube face widgets, each with a different color and a different matrix 4 transform. For each face, we use matrix4.translation values to move it to the correct position. For example, the front face is translated 50 units along the z-axis by using translation values. The back face is translated -50 units along the z-axis and also rotated 180 degrees around the y-axis by using rotate y, pi, to face outwards. We do similar translations and rotations for the other 4 faces to position them correctly to form a cube. Each face is positioned 50 units away from the center along its respective axis. So, to recap, we create 6 cube face widgets, each representing a face of the cube. We position and orient these faces using matrix4 transforms. Then, we use an animated builder to rotate the entire stack of faces around the x and y axes, creating the rotating cube animation. The perspective is added using set entry. The animation is driven by an animation controller and a tween. And that's it. That's how you create a 3D rotating cube animation in Flutter. Play around with the values, especially the perspective value and the rotation speeds, to see how you can change the animation. And that's a wrap. We just built an awesome 3D rotating cube animation in Flutter. With matrix4 transformations, gestures, and animations, you can create mind-blowing effects for your Flutter apps. If you found this tutorial helpful, you may want to watch other Flutter animation videos on this channel. Also, drop a comment below and let me know what animation you'd love to see next. Until next time, keep fluttering.